Hey, let's be honest, Hook. Have you ever opened your banking app, looked at your balance, and felt your heart drop to the floor? It's like, wait, who took my money and where did it go? Then you close the app right away, as if shutting your eyes could make the pain disappear. But then, there are days when you open the app, and somehow, for the first time in your life, you smile. Not because you hit the lottery, not because your salary just came in, but simply because, that number is enough to make you feel calm. Suddenly, the world feels lighter. You no longer have to calculate, if I buy this coffee today, will I be eating instant noodles for the next 3 days? Now here's the real question. What number makes the voice of money worries in your head finally shut up? Many people think it has to be a 6-figure number, or something like, when I have $1 million, I'll feel at peace. But I'll bet you this. You don't need a pile of money to feel free. What you need is just a number big enough for your brain to stop panicking. Because hey Dad, the problem isn't in your bank account, it's in your brain running on survival mode 24/7. It keeps you tense, reactive, and making decisions out of fear instead of logic. And the beauty is, once you hit a financial threshold smaller than you think, everything changes. I'm not talking about the kind of wealth that means a Ferrari in the garage. I'm talking about the peace of mind when you open your banking app without holding your breath. That feeling of, yeah, I'm okay. I can breathe, I can choose, I can live. That's not some faraway dream. It actually has a very specific number. And if you think I'm about to say $1 million, get ready to be surprised. Because the real answer is so small, you'll wonder why you didn't reach it sooner. Welcome to Me Invest channel where smart money moves start here. Subscribe for clear financial strategies. Listen, if you've ever watched those videos like How to Become a Millionaire by 30 or read articles like The Secrets Rich People Teach Their Kids About Wealth, then congratulations. You've just heard the oldest promises in the world. Sounds impressive, doesn't it? But let's ask this. What do you really need $1 million for? To stop worrying every time you pay a bill? To not hesitate over a cup of coffee? Trust me, you don't need $1 million to feel that way. And here's where I want you to pause and take a deep breath. You don't need a fortune to feel free. What you really need past Hive is just $20,000. Yes, you heard that right. 2 numbers, 5 digits, 1 comma. Not an amount that lets you live comfortably for the rest of your life, but enough for your brain to stop panicking every time it thinks about money. You see, we grew up in a culture that teaches us more money equals safety. But in reality, the feeling of safety doesn't come from the amount of money, Karis. It comes from the sense that you're in control of it. Someone with $20,000 who knows how to manage and invest it lives far more comfortably than someone earning $200,000 a year but constantly stressed and in debt. What else? I've met plenty of high-income people who are still mentally poor-mouthed because they're playing an endless game, earning more to spend more. Meanwhile, the person with $20,000 in savings doesn't need to be rich palled because they're calm enough to stop being afraid. And hey, I know what you're thinking. But $20,000 still sounds like a lot. True, it's not small lighting cup mine, but it's realistic. This isn't a millionaire dream that costs you 10 years of your life. This is the first milestone that frees you from the spiral of anxiety, that lets your brain switch off survival mode. From there, the financial game is no longer about how to survive, but how to make money work for you. And that's the real door to the freedom you've been chasing. Weekly Talk a Pot. So next time someone tells you that you need $1 million to be rich cow, smile, take a sip of your coffee, and think to yourself, I don't need that, my friend. I just need $20,000, too. And a clearer head than yours. Imagine this. You're standing at the bottom of a hill, pushing a massive boulder upward. It's heavy, Nolly, so heavy you can hear your heartbeat pounding in your chest. Sweat drips down, your arms tremble, and you start doubting yourself. Is this even worth it? That's the stage when you're trying to save the first few dollars of your life. You work hard, you cut expenses, you say no to 7,049 temptations out there, Phil, yet your bank account barely moves. And you think, maybe I'm just not cut out for this. Wrong! You're just on the first half of the slope. See, the rule of every uphill climb, whether physical or financial, is always the same. The hardest part is the beginning. It's like when you first hit the gym floor. Your muscles scream, your mind wants to quit, but if you hang in there a little longer, suddenly your body starts to get it. The boulder is the same. Once you push it past the first stretch, it starts rolling on its own. Gravity, once your enemy, now becomes your ally. And in finance, that top of the hill is $20,000. Before that, everything you do is fighting against the pull of fear and pressure. You save every dollar in tension. You make decisions out of anxiety. But once you hit $20,000, the world flips. It's like shifting from pushing to rolling. Suddenly, you no longer stay up at night over surprise bills. Suddenly, you no longer shrink in every financial decision. Instead of asking, "How do I survive?" you start asking, "How do I accelerate?" And the best part? You don't need to be a financial genius to get there. You just need to understand the law of the hill. At first, you sweat, you burn energy, you doubt yourself. But once you cross that first threshold, habit and momentum start doing the work for you. Money starts making money. Your mindset starts working with you instead of against you. So if today you're standing at the bottom of the hill, feeling tired, discouraged, or ready to quit me boo, remember this. You're not weak. You're just in the heaviest part of the journey. And on the other side of the hill is where motivation, starts working for you. $20,000 isn't the peak of wealth. It's the peak of freedom. Once you get past it, it's no longer a battle with money. Alright, let's talk numbers for a bit, method. Because I know you're thinking, okay, sounds nice, but is there any proof? And it comes from Vanguard, one of the largest personal finance research organizations in the world. They found that, just by having $2,000 in savings, your financial well-being score increases by an average of 21%. Sounds tiny, right? $2,000, kid. About the price of an iPhone or a few impulsive nights out. But what matters isn't the amount, Salaya. It's the shift in your sense of safety. Your brain realizes, oh, turns out I have a cushion. I won't starve if my car breaks down, or I lose my job for 2 weeks. And just like that, your mind starts to breathe. But here's where it gets interesting, cop. When you raise that number to $20,000, your happiness doesn't just rise by another 13%. You change zones entirely, Corey. Your brain officially leaves survival mode and enters strategic mode. In other words, you stop asking, how do I make it to the end of the month? And start asking, how do I make money work for me? Physiologically, this is a real transformation. The human brain has a region called the amygdala. It processes fear and stress. When you're constantly low on money, the amygdala stays overactive, driving short-term thinking, risk aversion, and burnout. But once you have enough of a financial cushion, roughly 3 to 6 months of living expenses, or around $20,000 for most people delay, your brain's danger signals decrease, and the prefrontal cortex, POX, the area for long-term decision-making, POX, finally turns on. In other words, science says this: you can only think big when you stop being afraid of small. And when you stop being afraid, everything you do shifts. You don't take jobs just because you need the money, but because they help you grow. You don't invest out of luck, but start learning to optimize. You don't avoid talking about money, you start managing it. So don't underestimate small numbers. The first $2,000 helps you sleep well. The first $20,000 helps you wake up without your heart racing from fear. From there, every decision you make stops being a defensive reflex of yours and becomes a proactive strategy. You're no longer the person running from money problems. Your hands. You're the one directing the flow of money. And there you have it, fair. The feeling of being rich doesn't actually come from massive wealth. It comes from a small number cast, just enough for you to stop being afraid, and start truly living. Let's be real, Pat, $20,000 doesn't make you a millionaire, but it upgrades your level in the game of life. You start making decisions, not from fear, but from position. And position changes everything. Before, you worked just because you had to. Your boss was annoying, coworkers were full of drama, the project was nonsense, yet you forced a smile because you still owe rent. But when you have $20,000 in your account, you have something I call calm money. It's not just money. For help, it's options. You can turn down a bad project without panicking. You can say no, thank you to a toxic client and still sleep well that night. You can negotiate your salary with new confidence. Because if they say no, you're still fine. It's a kind of mini financial freedom. Yoo-hoo. Not to retire, but to hold your head high. And you know what's fascinating? It's exactly when you're no longer desperate for money that you start making more of it, because your energy shifts. You walk into interviews not to beg for a job, but to choose one. You talk to clients not to plead, but to see if they're a good fit. People can feel that. And money, pad, being energy, pad, starts flowing toward you. $20,000 also changes how you see life. You stop scrutinizing every dollar spent on coffee. Not because you're reckless, but because you understand what's worth your attention. You stop arguing with yourself over buying a $3 coffee or making it at home because you know, dang, the problem isn't the coffee. It's the bigger financial strategy. Instead of squeezing your wallet over small expenses, you start looking at the big picture. Where am I in my financial journey? What skills do I want to invest in? Where do I want to live to grow better? When you have $20,000, you're not just buying peace of mind. You're buying perspective. And that perspective helps you focus on decisions that change your life. Not the little ones like eat out or eat in. Remember, poor people count every penny. Free people count every opportunity. And when you have $20,000, you start living on the other side of worrytell, where money is no longer the master, but the tool. Let me be blunt. Saving $20,000 doesn't say much about your wallet. It says everything about your mind. Because to reach that number, you don't just need money. You need a new kind of strength. You have to learn to delay gratification while the whole world screams in your ear, buy it, you deserve it. You have to look at your monthly paycheck and say, no, I'm not spending it all. I'm keeping some for my future. And every time you do that, you build another muscle of discipline in your mind. In truth, the $20,000 is only the tip of the iceberg. The one who understands that emotions aren't always your friend. The one who knows that real happiness doesn't come from impulsive shopping, but from the peace that comes with knowing you have choices. And here's what many people don't get, Yokai. When you save $20,000, you don't just have money. You become someone who keeps promises to yourself. No more, I'll save this month, okay, maybe next month. No more, just this one little splurge. You've crossed the line between hoping to have money and acting to have money. That's a real identity shift, Haft. From being someone who fears money, afraid to lose it, afraid to lack it, afraid to talk about it, to someone who leads money tag. Someone who knows how to make it serve them instead of control them. You start seeing money as a partner, not an enemy. When you have it, you don't panic about losing it. When you don't have much, you don't feel ashamed or defeated. You understand the game. Money is just energy high, and that energy flows toward those who manage it with wisdom and calm. It sounds grand, but you've already been doing it for it. Day by day, choice by choice. Every time you skip a just-for-fun purchase, every time you transfer money into savings instead of your online cart, you're rebuilding your trust with yourself, and when you look back on that journey, you'll realize that $20,000 isn't just money in the bank. It's your emotional maturity certificate, Howlett, a diploma not hanging on the wall, but engraved in your mind. I can control money. Now be honest, when you hit your first $20,000, how did you feel? Proud, right? And you deserve that feeling. But the very moment you think, I deserve this, the financial trap begins to open. I call it the self-destructive reward trap. Hep hat. That moment when you say, oh my God, I've worked so hard all year and I should treat myself. Then you open a car app, browse trips to the Maldives, or start following a hot stock you don't even understand. 2 weeks later, the money is gone. Apple. As if it never existed, you look at your account and ask yourself, wait, where did my $20,000 go? Congratulations! You've just completed the express loop of luxury-style poverty. Listen, I'm not saying you shouldn't enjoy life. I'm not telling you to live miserably. Delight. Without coffee, without travel, without joy. I just want you to understand this. There's a difference between rewarding yourself and wrecking your own game. A cocktail to celebrate? Perfect. A new car that eats your entire savings? Please don't. This trap is sneaky because it doesn't come from greed trans. It comes from the feeling of, I deserve it. And that feeling is dangerous if you don't have clear financial principles, because once you've escaped survival mode, your mind easily falls into the illusion of safety. You think you've leveled up, when in fact, you've only just climbed past the first slope. If you're not careful, you'll slide back down pay, and this time it'll hurt twice as much, because you've already been up there once. Remember this, hanky Oathavs. $20,000 is not a reward. It's a foundation. You're not stingy for keeping its size. You're wise. Protecting your freedom energy. Don't use "I've worked hard" as an excuse to destroy what you've built. Smart people don't reward themselves with spending. They reward themselves with peace and options. Let your real reward be the confidence that comes from self-control, because wealth isn't about how much you make for what hog. It's about how long you keep it and what you do with it. And trust me, Heb, there's no vacation more refreshing than the feeling of opening your banking app and seeing your $20,000 still there, and it's still quietly growing, instead of sunbathing on a beach with your maxed out credit card burning in the sand. Listen, $20,000 won't make you rich pro. There will be no fireworks, no Ferrari waiting at your door, but it gives you something rarer than wealth. Freedom. Freedom from the feeling of being dragged around by money. Freedom from nights spent counting bills instead of hours of sleep. Freedom from saying yes to everything just because you're afraid to miss a chance. And freedom to say no to the things that drain you. Because $20,000 isn't just money, Mergai. It's proof that you have mastered yourself. You've proven that you can set a goal, stay consistent, and not let emotions control your wallet. You're no longer someone being chased by life, but in money, you're the one steering it. And when you're in that position, every dollar you earn takes on a new meaning. It doesn't just buy material things. It buys psychological safety, confidence, and choice. The choice to take a week off if you need to. The choice to work on a project you actually love. The choice to live the life you want, say, instead of living by fear. Sounds grand, but really, it all starts with one small action. Deciding today, not tomorrow. Not when I make more, because that day will never feel enough. You don't need perfect conditions to start. Man, you Firo. You just need to start. Picture your Boulder again, Destin. The slope, you're pushing it up. Every dollar saved, every moment of discipline is one push. And once you get past the top, gravity starts working for you. Money starts making money. Belief starts feeding discipline, and you, the person who once panicked about finances, become the calm one in the storm of money. The world may change, the market may shake, but that confidence, no one can take it from you, because you built it with your own hands and your own discipline. So don't wait for the right condition. Don't wait for a financial miracle. The miracle is you. The moment you start taking action, $20,000 won't make you rich. It will make you free, wise, and unstoppable. Start now. Push that boulder up the hill, hitting. The rest, gravity will take care of for you.